Dejoe was late again. He walked through the sliding doors of classroom 7B with a container of tea boki in his hands, the spicy rice cake still steaming. The smell hit the room before he did. Several alien students turned their sensor organs away from the strong scent. A few made sounds that might have been coughing. Sorry, instructor Velmuth, Dejoe said, bowing slightly. It was a habit from home, from Sol. From Earth, most aliens didn't understand the gesture, but he did it. Anyway, Instructor Velmuth was a luxurian, and her body looked like living crystal. Light moved through her in strange patterns when she was annoyed. Right now those patterns were sharp and quick. Mr. Kang, this is the third time this week. The food station ran out of gyugaru. I had to wait. Dejoe slid into a seat near the back. His chair was specially made for human weight and density. Most of the furniture in the room was designed for species that weighed less than a house. Cat next to him, Prill, floated in her water-filled sphere. She was Quellin, looking something like a jellyfish mixed with an octopus. Her translator device clicked softly. What is Goru? Red pepper flakes makes food taste good. Dejoe popped a rice cake into his mouth and chewed happily. Prill's tentacles shivered. Your species eats pain. It's not pain, it's flavor, Dejoe said, but he knew she wouldn't understand. Humans had weird taste buds compared to most species. They could eat things that would kill other creatures. They could drink ethanol for fun. They could survive on almost anything. Across the room, the clicked his mandibles. The crash looked like a praying mantis that someone had stretched to 6 feet tall. Deathworlders, he muttered loud enough for others to hear, always showing off. Dejoe ignored him. He had heard it before. Earth was classified as a class 12 death world. That meant it was extremely dangerous. Most species couldn't survive there for a day. The gravity would crush them. The bacteria would eat them. The weather would kill them. The animals would hunt them, and the other humans might rob them. But today, Earth was just home. Instructor Velmuth continued the lesson. She was teaching about survival strategies of what she called low-tier species. It was kind of insulting, but Dejoe understood what she meant. Species that weren't apex predators, species that had to be clever to survive. The pics of Mondo 3 are an excellent example, Velmuth said. Her crystalline hand gestured at a hologram showing small furry creatures. When threatened, they release a pheromone that makes predators ignore them. A perfect passive defense. Dejoe raised his hand. What happens if the predator doesn't use smell to hunt? Velmuth's light patterns shifted. Then the Plix would likely be consumed. Why do you ask? Just curious. On Earth, we have predators that hunt by heat, by sound, by electrical signals, by movement. Some even hunt by taste in the water. Dejoe shrugged. Relying on just one defense seems risky. Several students turned to look at him. Theeks clicked his mandibles again, but this time it sounded thoughtful. Earth is an unusual case, Velmuth said carefully. Most worlds do not have such variety in their threats. Dejoe nodded and went back to his tea. He didn't mention that humans were the reason there was so much variety. Humans had spread across every environment on Earth: deserts, tundra, mountains, oceans, jungles, and they had learned to deal with every predator, every danger, every challenge, not by being the strongest, not by being the fastest, but by being stubborn and clever and willing to eat literally anything. The lesson continued. Dejo only half listened. He had noticed something odd. The ventilation grate above the door looked wrong. It was open slightly, just a crack, and the air pressure in the room felt different. His ears had popped when he came in, but he had thought it was just the station's environmental systems adjusting. Now he wasn't sure. He looked around the room. 30 students. One instructor, all of them focused on the lesson. None of them had noticed anything wrong. Maybe he was being paranoid. His mother always said he worried too much, but his father had taught him something else during his military service. Dehoya, trust your instincts. They kept our ancestors alive when smarter things wanted to eat them. Deho stood up. Mr. Kanjomoth's light pattern showed confusion. Sorry, I just need to check something. He walked toward the door, looking up at the ventilation grate. This is highly irregular. Please return to your seat. Just 1 second. I think the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the room. Students made sounds of alarm in a dozen different languages and frequencies. Dejo froze his hand halfway to the grate. His human eyes started adjusting immediately, pupils dilating to catch any available light. Something moved in the darkness, fast. Too fast, a student screamed. It was Mirai, the small Quellan near the front of the room. Emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red, and there, standing in the center of the classroom, was something out of a nightmare of Rax. Assassin. Dejo had seen pictures, but pictures didn't capture the reality. The creature was 7 ft of reptilian muscle and razor-sharp biology. Its scales were dark gray, almost black, designed to absorb light. Its arms ended in bone blades that looked like they could cut through steel. Its eyes were flat and cold. It had one clawed hand on instructor's shoulder. The crystalline teacher was frozen in fear. Light patterns stuttering. The entire classroom went silent. The Vra spoke in perfect common tongue, its voice like gravel grinding. Do not move. Do not activate any devices. I am here for the daughter of Ambassador Krill. The Quellan called Mirai. Give her to me and the rest of you may live. Mary made a sound like water being squeezed from a sponge. She was terrified. Dejo's heart was pounding. Adrenaline flooded his system. His hands started shaking, but not from fear. From his body preparing to move, to fight, to do something. And then, before he could stop himself, he laughed. It wasn't a big laugh, just a short, surprised sound, but in the silent, terrified classroom, it was as loud as a gunshot. Every eye turned to him, including the Vra's cold reptilian stare. Something amuses you, human. Dejo swallowed. His mouth was dry, but the adrenaline was singing in his veins, and his brain was working overtime, and he heard himself say, seriously, during midterms. The Vra tilted its head, confused, and Dejo thought, well, I'm committed now. He put down his container of Tiagboki and cracked his knuckles. The sound sharp in the quiet room. You picked the wrong classroom, friend. The Vrax assassin studied Dejo like a bug under glass. Its blade arms flexed slightly, a gesture that made several students whimper. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. My friends say both. Dejo replied. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. Inside, his body was doing what human bodies had done for millions of years. His heart rate jumped from 70 beats per minute to over 120. His blood pressure spiked. His liver dumped glucose into his bloodstream. His adrenal gland squeezed out a cocktail of chemicals that made him feel sharp and fast and alive. He was scared. Terrified, actually, but fear didn't make humans freeze like it did most species. Fear made them move. The Vra took a step toward me. I will not ask. Again, give me the Quellen. Can't do that, Dezhou said. He moved without thinking, stepping between the assassin and Miri's desk. 20 feet separated them. Now, it felt like 20 m and 20 in at the same time. Memories flashed through his head, random things, crossing the street in Seoul during rush hour, dodging between cars and motorcycles and buses, his mandatory military service, crawling through mud while sergeants shouted, hiking Buchanan Mountain with his father, slipping on wet rocks, catching himself swimming at Hundi Beach when a riptide caught him. The moment of pure panic before training took over. His father's voice in his head, the world doesn't pause for fear. You move or you die. You are one human, the Vra said. Its voice was patient, like it was explaining something to a child. I am Vrax. We have a 98% mission success rate. We are bred for killing. Our blades can cut through most armor. Our reflexes are 3 times faster than human standard. You have no weapons, no armor, no chance. Dezhou nodded. Yeah, I know. I read about your species. Very impressive. He rolled his shoulders, loosening muscles. But you know what? I'm from Earth. That means nothing to me. It should. Dezhou smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. See, on Earth, humans aren't the strongest thing. We're not the fastest. We're not even close. We've got bears that can crush skulls, cats that hunt in the dark, sharks that smell blood from miles away, snakes with venom that stops your heart, spiders that eat your flesh, and that's not even counting the weather or the diseases or the other humans. Vra's tail twitched. Your point? My point is that we survived anyway. You know how? Dezhou's hands moved to his belt, slowly, carefully. We learned to be mean. We learned to be stubborn. We learned that when something wants to kill you, you don't just give up and die. You make them work for it. He unbuckled his belt and wrapped it around his left hand, the buckle facing out. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was something. This is foolish, the Vra said, but Dave heard something in its voice. Uncertainty, maybe, confusion. Move aside or I will kill you first. No. Dezhou said simply. Behind him, Pro made a gurgling sound. Dezhou, don't. Please, it will kill you, probably. Dezhou agreed. His eyes never left the Vra. But it's going to remember me. Vrax's blade arms extended fully. They caught the red emergency light and gleamed like fresh blood. So be it. It moved fast, impossibly fast. One moment it was standing near the instructor's desk. The next it was lunging across the room, blade arms raised, claws extended. Dezhou's human eyes could barely track it. But he didn't need to track it. He just needed to not be where it was aiming. He threw himself sideways, grabbing a desk. As he moved, the desk was designed for low-gravity species, Tadehou, who had grown up under Earth's crushing gravity. It weighed almost nothing. He swung it up like a shield. The Vra's blade hit the desk and cut through it like paper, but it bought Dezhou a half second. He rolled away, came up on his feet, and looked around for anything he could use. The classroom was full of equipment, hologram projectors, environmental controls, chemical storage for different atmosphere types, and his container of Tedok bulky still sitting On his desk, the sauce bright red and steaming, the VAR turned toward him. Again, you only delay the inevitable. Dejoe didn't answer. He was breathing hard now, his body pulling oxygen into his blood. Humans could breathe, could keep going, could outlast almost anything on Earth. Ancient humans had hunted by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. It took hours, sometimes days, but humans just kept coming. That was the secret. Humans didn't give up. The VRA struck again. This time Dejoe didn't try to dodge completely. He stepped into the strike, taking a hit on his left arm. That sent pain screaming up to his shoulder, but the belt around his hand caught on the VRA's blade arm, tangling. For just a moment it was enough. Dejoe drove his right fist into the VRA's torso with everything he had. The impact sent shocks up his arm. It was like punching a wall, but he felt something give slightly. The VRAX made a sound. Surprise, maybe. Dejoe spun away, grabbed his tea-bakey container, and threw the entire thing at the VRA's face. Hot sauce and rice cake splattered across the assassin's eyes and snout. The VRA shrieked. The gore in the sauce, the capsaicin that humans found tasty, hit the assassin's sensitive receptors like acid. It staggered back, clawing at its face. That's Korean hospitality, Dejoe panted. Blood was running down his left arm, but he ignored it. Pain was just information. His body would keep working. That was what human bodies did. The VRA recovered faster than he hoped. Its eyes were watering, but it could still see, and now it was angry. You will suffer for that, human. Get in line, Dejoe said. He backed toward the environmental control panel. My mom's going to kill me when she finds out I got in another fight. The VRA charged. This time Dejoe didn't dodge. He grabbed the environmental control and yanked it hard, switching the classroom atmosphere to match the crush zone. High heat, low oxygen. Most species couldn't function in it, but Dejoe had trained in the Korean summer, had done exercises in military gear when it was 38 degrees C and humid enough to drown in the air. He could work through heat. The VRA slowed just a little, just enough. Dejoe grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and pulled the pin. The VR lunged one more time, blade arms reaching for his throat. Dejoe sprayed foam directly into its face, and then, while it was blind, swung the heavy extinguisher tank into its skull with every bit of strength his death world muscles could produce. The VRA went down, not unconscious but stunned. Dejoe dropped onto its back, wrapped his arm around its throat and held on. Prill, he shouted, emergency beacon now. Quellen shaking in her sphere activate her emergency transmitter. The VRAX thrashed. Dejoe held on, his muscles screaming. The cut on his arm had opened wider. He could feel his own blood making his grip slippery, but he didn't let go. The VORAX struggled less. Finally it went still. Dejoe kept holding on, counting to 60 in his head. Humans knew how to choke things unconscious. It was a skill they had learned long ago. When he finally let go and rolled off, his entire body was shaking, not from fear now, from adrenaline crash, from exhaustion, from blood loss. He sat on the floor next to the unconscious assassin and started laughing, real laughter this time, the kind that came from surviving something impossible. Station security burst through the door. 30 seconds later, weapons drawn, they found a classroom full of terrified students, an injured instructor, and one human sitting on top of an elite VRAX. Assassin bleeding and laughing and asking if anyone had bandages and maybe some soju. The medical bay was quiet, except for the soft sounds of monitoring equipment and Dejoe's occasional grunt of pain. Dr. Vessery was luxurian-like. Instructor Velmoth and his crystalline hands moved with careful precision as he worked on Dejoe's injured arm. Your physiology is remarkable, Vessery said. His translator made his voice sound clinical and curious. This wound should have caused you to lose consciousness from blood loss and pain, yet you remained functional for another 7 minutes. Dejoe shrugged with his good shoulder. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I do not understand that reference. It means my body made its own painkillers. Humans do that when we're in danger. Evolution, you know. Dejoe watched as the doctor applied a bonding agent that would help the wound close faster. It itched like crazy. How's Instructor Velmoth? Shaken but unharmed. The VR did not injure her. She was fortunate. Vashri paused. You were fortunate as well. VRA assassins are among the most dangerous beings in known space. Yeah, I got that impression. Door to the medical bay slid open. A Quellan floated in larger than me with more elaborate patterns on his transparent body. His water sphere had official markings on it. Behind him came Station Security Chief Des, looking tired and worried. Mr. Kang, the large Quellan said, his voice through the translator was formal and deep. I am Ambassador Krill. You saved my daughter's life. Dejoe sat up straighter, wincing. Ambassador, it's an honor. Is Miri okay? She is terrified but physically unharmed thanks to you. The ambassador's tentacles moved in patterns Dejoe couldn't read. I have come to offer my gratitude and to inform you that our people will not forget this debt. Oh, that's not necessary. I just did what anyone would. No, Chief Des interrupted. She was Quellan as well, but smaller with military patterns on her sphere. You did what no one else could. We have reviewed the security footage of Rex's assassin in a classroom full of civilians, and you, unarmed, stopped it. Dejoe scratched the back of his neck with his good hand. I had a belt and T-by and kind of a lot of anger about missing my exam. Ambassador Krill made a sound that might have been laughter. I have authorized the Galactic News Network to share the footage. Entire galaxy will know what you did. They will know that humans are as capable as they are kind. Oh no, Dejoe said. Please don't. My mom is going to see that and lose her mind. But it was too late. By the next morning, Dejoe was famous. The footage was everywhere. Human student defeats elite assassin. Deathworlder shows true nature. Why Earth should be reclassified to Class 13. The headlines ranged from admiring to terrified. Dejoe watched some of it on his data pad while eating breakfast in the station cafeteria. Someone had brought him proper Korean food from the human sector. Kimchi jjigae, rice and banchan. It tasted like home. Prill floated over to his table. May I sit with you? Of course. Dejoe gestured at the space across from him. How are you doing? I cannot stop thinking about what happened. Her tentacles twisted. I have been researching Earth. I did not understand before. Your world as it is terrible. Dejoe, how do your people survive? Dejoe took a bite of kimchi and thought about it. We don't really think about it that way. It's just where we live. Yeah. There are dangerous animals and weather and diseases, but there's also beauty. Mountains and oceans and forests. Good food, good people. You adapt, you know. But humans are not just adapted, you are. You are apex predators, you have intelligence and tool use and physical strength. Most species have one or two advantages. Humans have many, we have two. Dejo said quietly. Earth doesn't forgive mistakes, so we learn not to make them or well to survive them when we did. Thex approached the table. The crash moved slowly, almost hesitantly. His mandibles clicked in what Dejo had learned was a sign of respect. Kang. Dejo, I owe you an apology. Dejo blinked. For what? I called you a show-off. I dismissed your people as simple deathworlders. I was wrong. Thex's compound eyes reflected the cafeteria lights. The Crash Military Council has been studying the footage of your fight. They say you employed 17 different combat techniques adapted to the environment, used improvised weapons, and demonstrated psychological warfare, all while injured. They wish to invite human instructors to teach our soldiers. That's wow. Okay. Dejo didn't know what to say. I wasn't really thinking about technique. I was mostly just trying not to die. That is what makes it impressive. Said you did not freeze. You did not flee. You fought. More students approached throughout breakfast. Some wanted to thank him. Some wanted to ask questions about Earth. Some just wanted to stare at the human who had beaten a raw assassin with spicy food and stubbornness. It was overwhelming. Later, Dejo met with Ambassador Krill in a private conference room. The ambassador had brought gifts, traditional Quellan art pieces, and an official medal of honor from his home world. I cannot give you enough to repay the debt, Krill said, but I can offer you this. My people and your people will be allies. Whatever you need, whatever Earth needs, you need only ask. That's incredibly generous, Dejo said, but honestly, I'm just glad Mary is safe. She wishes to thank you personally, but she is still processing the trauma. In time, perhaps. Krill's tentacles moved thoughtfully. I must also warn you, the faction that hired the Vra to kill my daughter are not pleased. They have been embarrassed. An elite assassin defeated by a student. It makes them look weak. So what does that mean? It means they may try again. But next time, you may be the target. Dejo felt his stomach drop. Oh, station security will protect you, and I have hired private guards as well. You will be safe. I appreciate that, but Dejo thought about the fight, about the fear, and the pain and the desperate scrambling to survive. I can't hide forever, and I have exams to take, classes to finish. I came here to learn, not to be a soldier. I understand. But please be careful. That evening, Dejo returned to his quarters and found a message waiting. It was from home, from his mother. He opened it with his heart in his throat. His mother's face appeared on the screen. She was in the kitchen of their Seoul apartment. She was crying. Dejo ho. Yeah, she said in Korean. I saw the news. I saw what happened. You could have been killed. Do you understand? Killed? I didn't send you to space to fight assassins. I sent you to study. She paused, wiping her eyes. But I also saw how you protected that girl, how you stood between her and danger, and I am so proud of you. Your father is proud. Your grandmother called and said, you have the spirit of our ancestors. She smiled through her tears. Just please be more careful. Come home safe. I made galbi for when you visit next month. Come home and eat. Well, the message ended. Dejo sat in his quarters alone in the dark and let himself cry a little from relief from homesickness from the delayed reaction, to almost dying. Then he wiped his eyes, made himself some instant Ramon, and started studying for his makeup exam. Because that was what humans did. They survived, they cried, they ate comfort, food, and then they got back to work. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant, and somewhere out there, someone was planning to kill him, but that was tomorrow's problem. 3 weeks passed. Dejo attended classes with a security detail trailing behind him. It was awkward at first, having 2 armed guards following him to xenobiology lectures and lunch, but he got used to it. Humans were good at adapting to weird situations. The station had changed around him, too. Other students treated him differently. Now, some with respect, some with fear. A few with suspicion, wondering if all humans were secretly that dangerous. Dejo tried to be normal. He shared his Korean snacks. He helped classmates with homework. He made jokes and complained about professors like any other student. Slowly, people started to relax around him again. Instructor Velmuth returned to teaching after a week of recovery. Her first words to Dejo were, "No more Tteokbokki in my classroom." He had laughed and agreed. The investigation into the assassination attempt had revealed uncomfortable truths. The Vraks had been hired by a faction called the Purity Council, a group that believed in species separation. They wanted the galaxy divided by strength, with superior species ruling and inferior species serving. Ambassador Krill's work promoting equal representation had made him a target. The council had not expected a human to interfere. They had not expected anyone to survive of Rex's assassin. Now they had a new problem. Humans were gaining attention. Earth had been mostly ignored by galactic politics, considered too dangerous to visit and too primitive to matter. But after Dejo's fight went viral, people started asking questions. How many humans were there? How strong were they really? What would happen if Earth decided to join galactic civilization properly? Some species found these questions exciting. Others found them terrifying. Dejo learned about all this from Yun Seok, another Korean human who worked in the station's engineering department. They met for dinner in the human sector, a small collection of restaurants and shops that catered to the handful of humans living on the station. "You've become a celebrity," Yunyo said, pouring soju into small glasses. He was older than Dejo, maybe 30, with the practical hands of someone who worked with machines. The engineering crews can't stop talking about you. Some of them want to hire human guards now. That's weird, Dejo said. He picked up his glass, and they tapped them together before drinking. The soju burned pleasantly. "I'm just a student. You're a symbol now." Like it or not, Yunok refilled the glasses. "The Council for Human Integration has been calling me. They want to fast-track Earth's application for full galactic membership." "Is that good?" "Depends. It means more opportunities for humans, trade, education, technology sharing, but it also means more responsibility, more politics, more chances for conflicts." Yunok looked thoughtful. "Some council members are arguing that humans should be restricted, Class 12. Deathworlders with our capabilities. That scares people." Dejo thought about that while they ate. The restaurant served samgyeopsal and kimchi that tasted almost like home, almost but not quite. Station-grown vegetables never tasted exactly right. "Do you ever regret Leaving Earth, Daejo asked, sometimes I miss my family, miss the food, miss walking under an open sky. Yunok smiled. But out here, I get to work on technology Earth won't have for decades. I get to meet beings from 1,000 different worlds. It's worth it. They talked late into the evening about home, about space, about the weird reality of being human among aliens. When Daejo returned to his quarters, he found a message waiting, not from his mother, this time from station security chief. "Das Mr. Kang, we need to speak. It's urgent. Please come to Security Central." When you receive this, Daejo's good mood evaporated. He grabbed his jacket and headed to Security Central, his guards following silently. Chief Des met him in a private briefing room. Her tentacles were moving in agitated patterns. "We have intelligence that concerns you," she said without preamble. "The Purity Council has issued another contract. This time the target is you." Daejo had been expecting this, but hearing it still made his mouth go dry. "When we don't know, but the contractor is not Vax this time." She pulled up a hologram. It showed a creature that looked almost like a jellyfish, similar to the Quellan but with darker coloration and sharper features. "This is a chef. They are shapeshifters. They can mimic the appearance and behavior of most humanoid species, so it could be anyone. Yes, we are implementing additional security measures, biometric scanners, increased patrols, but a chef is patient. It could take weeks to make its move, maybe months. So what do I do? Just wait to die? No. You live your life, but carefully. Trust your instincts. You humans are good at detecting threats. Your social instincts are more sophisticated than most species. If something feels wrong, report it immediately." Daejo left Security Central feeling numb. He had survived one assassin. Could he survive another? This one would be smarter, more patient, harder to detect. Classes continued. Daejo tried to focus on his studies, but part of his brain was always scanning for threats, watching faces, noting behavior, looking for anything unusual. 2 weeks later, a new student arrived in Instructor Velmuth's class, a crash named Rip. Transferring from another station, Rip was polite and quiet, asking good questions and doing solid work, but something felt wrong. Daejo couldn't put his finger on it at first. Riv looked like a crash, moved like a crash, even smelled like a crash, according to the who had welcomed the newcomer warmly. But small things were off. The way Riv's mandibles moved when speaking, the pattern of eye movements, the timing of responses to questions. It was like watching a really good actor who had almost but not quite perfected the role. Daejo started paying closer attention. He noticed that Riv always positioned itself near exits, that it watched Daejo home more than other students, that it asked questions about human physiology and behavior, always casual, always as part of normal conversation. He didn't report it, not yet, because he could be wrong. Paranoia was just paranoia until it saved your life. The class took a field trip to the station's biodome, a massive environmental section designed to showcase ecosystems from member worlds. It was beautiful and strange, with sections that had different gravity, atmosphere, and temperature. Daejo stood in the Earth section, looking at a small grove of trees that were supposed to be oak but didn't quite look right. The gravity felt correct, at least one full G, heavy and comfortable. "This is your world," Riv had approached Quietly, too quietly for a crash whose exoskeleton usually clicked when they moved. A very small part of it, Joe said. He kept his voice casual, but his body tensed. Earth is more diverse than this. I have been researching your world. It is truly hostile. How did your species survive? Stubbornness mostly. Riv's mandibles clicked. I wonder what makes a human decide to fight instead of flee. When the Vraks attacked, you could have run, you could have hidden, but you fought. Why? Someone needed help, but it was not your offspring, not your mate, not even your pack family, just a classmate, yet you risked death. Riv moved closer. This is what I do not understand about humans. Your loyalty extends beyond biological imperative. Why? Dejo turned to face Riv fully. His human instincts were screaming now. The uncanny valley feeling was overwhelming. This was not a crash. This was something wearing a crash like a costume. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? Dejo said quietly. It's not our strength. It's not our stubbornness. It's that we make pacts with anyone. We adopt enemies, orphans. We domesticate predators. We make friends with things that want to kill us. Riv tilted its head. What are you saying? I'm saying you're not Kresh. You're Sheth, and you're about to make a big mistake. For a moment nothing happened, then Riv's form shimmered and changed. The crash features melted away, revealing something between a jellyfish and a nightmare. The chef's real body was translucent and constantly shifting. Impressive, it said. Its voice was different now, layered and strange. How did you know? You moved wrong. Talked wrong, asked the wrong questions. Dejo backed away slowly, reaching for his emergency beacon. Also, Crash, don't sweat, but you do just a little when you're maintaining the disguise. The chef moved impossibly fast, its tentacle wrapped around Dejo's wrist, stopping him from activating the beacon. The council sends their regards, it hissed. Then everything happened at once. Chef's grip on Dejo's wrist was like steel cable. Its body rippled and changed, becoming something sharper and more dangerous. Dejo tried to pull away, but the assassin was strong. Then a bright light exploded across the biodome. Prill had followed them. She floated in her sphere, and her body was glowing with intense bioluminescence. The chef shrieked and released Dejo, its photosensitive cells overloaded by the sudden brightness. Run, Prill shouted, but Dejo didn't run. He had learned something from the Vra fight. Running just delayed the inevitable. Instead, he grabbed a handful of earth section soil, heavy and full of clay, and threw it at the chef's sensory organs. The assassin stumbled, blind from Prill's light and now covered in mud. Thex came charging from around a corner, mandibles spread wide. The real these who had noticed his supposed fellow Crash acting strangely and had followed. Out of curiosity, he released a spray of pheromones, crash-warning chemicals that burned the chef's receptors. It's a chef. The clicked security biodome. Section 7. The chef recovered faster than Dejo hoped. It lashed out with a tentacle that caught him across the chest and sent him flying backward into a tree. Pain exploded through his ribs. He tasted blood, but pain was just information. His body still worked. He climbed to his feet as the chef advanced. It had given up on stealth. Now, its body was a mass of weapons. Tentacles like whips, edges like blades, and a dozen sensory organs tracking every movement. You cannot win, the chef said. Its voice was calm despite the chaos. I have studied you, studied Humans, you are strong, yes, resilient. Yes, but I am faster. I am designed for killing. What are you designed for? Daijo wiped blood from his mouth. Surviving. The chef lunged. Daijo didn't try to fight it head-on this time. He had learned that lesson with the Vraks. Instead, he dove to the side, rolled, and came up near Prill. Get to safety, he told her. No, Prill said. Her tentacles were shaking, but her voice was firm. We are classmates, Pack. Family, as you said. I will not leave. Something warm filled Daijo's chest. Despite the pain, humans weren't the only species that could be brave. Sheth moved toward them again, but Thex got in its way. The Crash was not a fighter by nature, but he was trying. He grabbed onto the chef with his 4 arms, holding it back. Go, Thex shouted. I cannot hold it long more. Students were arriving now. They had heard the commotion. Mary floated up, still small and scared, but she activated her emergency beacon. Others joined her, a dozen different species, all pressing their emergency alerts. Chef threw the aside and prepared to strike at Daijo one final time. Then security arrived, a full tactical team heavily armed and trained. They surrounded the chef with weapons that hummed with contained energy. Stand down, Chief Desk commanded. You are outnumbered and outgunned. The chef looked around at the security team, at the students who had grouped together. Despite their fear, at Daijo, who was bleeding but standing. This was supposed to be simple. It said one target, one kill, but humans make everything complicated. That's what we do best, Daijo said. He was leaning on Prill's sphere for support, his ribs screaming. We complicate things, we make friends. We build communities, and we protect each other. The chef's body shimmered with something that might have been frustration. You are monsters, all of you humans. Most of all, you come from a world that should have killed you. You should be savage and cruel, but instead you are kind. You protect others, you sacrifice for beings you barely know. It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense, Daijo said quietly. Earth was harsh, yeah, but humans didn't survive alone. We survived together. We formed tribes. We helped each other. We learned that cooperation was stronger than any individual strength. That's what made us human. Security moved in carefully, surrounding the chef with containment fields. The assassin didn't resist this time. It seemed almost curious. The council will not stop, it said as they restrained it. They fear what humanity represents: change, integration, the end of their pure hierarchy. Let them be afraid, Chief Desk said. Fear is not an excuse for murder. They took the chef away. Medical teams rushed in to treat the injured. Daijo's ribs were bruised, maybe cracked, but not broken. He would heal. Humans were good at that. The aftermath took days to sort out. The investigation revealed the full extent of the Purity Council's operations. They had been behind dozens of attacks across the galaxy, trying to maintain species separation through violence and fear. The evidence from the 2 assassination attempts was enough. The council was dismantled, its leaders arrested, the conspiracy broken. Ambassador Krill gave a speech to the Galactic Assembly. He talked about what had happened, about how his daughter had been saved by a human, about how students from different worlds had worked together to stop an assassin. This is the future we must build, he said. Not separation, not fear, but cooperation, not despite our differences, but because of them. The Speech was broadcast across the galaxy. Reactions were mixed, some species celebrated, others remained suspicious. But conversation had started, real. Conversation about what it meant to share the galaxy, for Dezhou life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after fighting 2 assassins and becoming a galactic celebrity. He finished his exams, passed with decent grades, not perfect but good enough. He received offers from a dozen different organizations, security firms wanting human guards, militaries wanting human instructors, research institutes wanting to study human capabilities. He turned them all down. Instead, he accepted a position at Vellum Academy as an instructor teaching a new class called Deathworld Survival Strategies. His first lesson was simple. He brought in tteokbokki, kimchi, and other Korean foods. His students, representing 15 different species, looked at the red sauce with suspicion. "This is Goro," Dho explained. "Humans eat it for flavor. Most of you will find it painful. That's okay. The lesson isn't about the food." "Then what is the lesson about?" asked a young luxuriant student. "It's about understanding that what's normal for one species might be deadly for another, and that's okay. We don't all have to be the same, we just have to respect each other's differences." Dezhou smiled. "Also, humans are weird. We eat pain for fun, just accept it." Class laughed nervously. Over the following months, more humans came to the academy. Jiwon, a brilliant engineer from Busausen. Taimin, a xenobiologist from Jeju, others from Earth's different regions, all bringing their perspectives and skills. They formed a community, a small piece of Earth among the stars. One evening, Dezhou sat in his quarters with a bowl of instant ram and opened a video call to Seoul. His mother's face appeared, smiling. "Dho, yes, you look tired. Are you eating well?" "Yes, I'm eating well." He showed her the ramen. "That's not real food. Come home and I'll make you a proper meal." "I will. Next month, I promise." Dezhou smiled. "How's everyone at home?" They talked for an hour about family, about friends, about small things that happened in Seoul, about his mother's garden and his father's new hobby of woodworking. It was normal and boring and wonderful. When the call ended, Dezhou sat in the quiet of his quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were still afraid of humans, still suspicious of death worlders, but somewhere out there, people were also learning, opening doors, building bridges between worlds. Dezhou thought about his students, about Prill and Thex and Mirai, who had all become real friends, about the other humans scattered across the galaxy doing their best. Earth was a death world. That was true. It had made humans strong and stubborn and resilient, but it had also made them compassionate, made them community builders, made them survivors who pulled others up instead of pushing them down. That was the real secret, not that humans were dangerous, but that humans were dangerous and chose not to be. The next day, Dezhou walked into his classroom. 30 students from 20 different worlds looked at him with various expressions of curiosity and nervousness. "Good morning," he said in Korean, then switched to common. "Today we're going to talk about fear, not how to eliminate it, but how to work with it, because fear isn't the enemy. Fear keeps you alive, but fear also keeps you from living. The trick is finding the balance." A student raised a tentacle. "How did you find that balance?" Instructor, Dijo thought about the VAR. About the chef, about every moment he had. Been terrified and acted, anyway. Ill learning, he said honestly, but I'll tell you what I know. You ready? Students leaned forward and Dijo began. The teacher.